Welcome to Whole CEO with Lisa G. I'm the best-selling author of The Boss Weight Loss. I'm bringing you the top tips to be unstoppable. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually pull up a chair with today's top experts in weight loss, mindset, and business. Learn our top tips to set you up for success so that you can have more energy, be fit and resilient, and feel unstoppable. She stayed home with her 4 children before going back to work for the Navy. Certified hypnotherapist, health coach. She wrote Through the Mountains Be Shaken for those who are striving to be the person they envisioned in the face of life's challenges, being open, honest, and real. Coming from never feeling good enough, a 10-year health crisis, a 22-year eating disorder, she helped others see that there's hope, but also that there's a reason to press on. She inspires others to say, because of you, I didn't give up. Ariel Selwyn, oh my gosh, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. I really want to jump right in from some of that stuff in your bio and talk about the chronic illness and the eating disorder and how you got there.
Yeah, definitely. So professionals say that an eating disorder is a combination between genetics, a biological factor, and an emotional trigger. So my eating disorder started when I was in college. I'm 40 years old now, so it's been a long journey. And in college, I broke up with a boyfriend that I had been with for 1.5 years, and that was my environmental trigger. And I really didn't know what was happening to me. I was very sheltered, and it just started with overeating, and it turned into binge eating, where I was eating in secret, anything from like a whole sheet cake in secret to weird concoctions, and the urge got 10 times stronger when I was alone, and I tried to reach out to my parents for help, and they just kind of blew it off. And so I kind of took things into my own hands, and because that went on for a year where I was just making myself sick, eating so much, making myself sick, and then I would eat some more. And so I tried desperately to get control by starving myself and restricting. And so I would restrict so much that I would only eat maybe 2 rolls a day or an apple and a few crackers a day for a week on end. And I would still keep up with my college studies, and I would still work out every day. And I honestly don't know how my body was. I was skin and bones. And again, I didn't know what was happening to me and my parents. They were the kind of mentality where they said, mental illnesses weren't real. So they were not getting me professional help, and that continued. I would starve myself until I would binge again, and I would starve myself until I would binge again. And so that carried on through college into my marriage. And I'll talk a little bit more later about getting professional help, but that's kind of where I was. That's how it started. And then my chronic illness started when I was 28 years old. I had 4 kids, 4 little babies. The youngest was 8 months old. The oldest was 5. So I had lots of little babies and toddlers.
Wow.
And it started with what I thought it was a sinus headache. I had never had anything else besides a sinus headache. And I was scheduled to get gum graft surgery for my gums. And that turned the headaches into a nightmare, into daily chronic migraines.
Oh my gosh.
From there, my health just took a downward spiral. It turned into abdominal pain, nausea, flu-like symptoms, chronic fatigue, brain fog, weird things like itching all over, darting pains through my face. Like I was falling apart. It felt like my world had crumbled underneath me. And that began a journey of 10 years trying to figure out what was wrong with me through alternative doctors, conventional doctors. I was almost bedridden. I was just letting the kids play around me, trying to take care of their basic needs, but I was really floundering. There was days that I couldn't even get up the stairs in my own house. I was that fatigued and in that much pain.
Wow. And what made you persevere and keep going at that point?
Yeah, so I think it was different with the eating disorder and the chronic illness. So with the eating disorder, there's kind of 2 mindsets. There's the eating disorder mindset that makes you want to protect the eating disorder and not let anyone touch it, because you have those eating disorder thoughts that are so strong. And then there's the logical side of your brain that really wants freedom and you want to get back to the other side. So I think with a mental illness like that, it's really important to have someone that is your advocate and supporting you. So like I said, I took the eating disorder into my marriage, and I had told my husband before our marriage about the eating disorder, but I don't think you can really understand fully what an eating disorder is until you either have one yourself or you're living with someone who has one. And so he was the first one that sought me professional help. Like I said,
Oh,
didn't seek me out professional help. And although the first counselor that he sought out didn't really get to the root problem, he began to, during my worst eating disorder days, he began to seek out or push for inpatient care. And that scared me. Even though I knew I needed it, it scared me. And
of
so that
course.
led me to look for a counselor and a psychiatrist in the area. And that psychiatrist knew what to do.
Oh
And so
God.
I'm so thankful that my husband pushed me to seek
Oh,
professional help. And I'll talk a little bit about more how he helped me in a little bit. But with the chronic illness, it was completely different. I wanted my life back, and I'm a very persistent person. And for that, it wasn't just about me, it was about my kids and my husband. And I wanted them to have the mom that they deserved.
right.
And I saw it as a task at hand. And I was like, I'm going to get better. I actually remember telling God, I'm going to get better with or without you. And even though I don't really agree with that mindset, that's how persistent I was as far as getting better. And so I drug my kids to doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment because I didn't want them to ever look back and say, I missed out because I have a sick mom. And I wanted to be their mom. I didn't want to miss out on the mom things. So I know people ask me, like, how did you get through? And I got through because I wanted to get up every day with those kids. And I wanted them to have the mom that they deserved. I wanted them to have a healthy mom again.
So
So
you
I'm
have
not
a strong why that was connecting you to
yes.
keep pushing through and keep going. And then I was just curious. I want to get to the end of the chronic illness, but it just seems to me it must be connected with the eating disorder.
There might have been some things, but I did get diagnosed with Lyme disease.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, but I think I had a lot of digestive issues from the eating disorder.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had bone loss from the eating disorder. So there are definitely, consequences from that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because your whole gut health was totally in disrepair. And
Mhm.
it's such a sad disease. I've known so many people that have had eating disorders, and it is so brave and open and honest of you to be honest with us, your audience, and
Mhm.
really help people with your book. So once you found it was Lyme disease, was there any help?
Yeah, so I ended up working with a team of doctors. Like I said, I dragged the kids from doctor's appointment to doctor's appointment, and I worked with conventional doctors, alternative doctors, and I I was for a long time I was just in despair because no one seemed to be able to have the answer. But I'm so glad that I eventually had doctors stick with me. I have two neurologists that finally got the headaches under control. So I got down to, fewer and fewer headaches. And then I had a doctor that stuck with me that diagnosed me with Lyme disease and stuck with me through that treatment. And then I had another doctor that was able to treat me with, and I write about all these treatments in my book and all the things that didn't work and all the things that did work. But another doctor that was able to help me with the chronic fatigue and the digestive issues. So it really became a team of doctors towards the end. And it was 2019 when I could finally say I feel like a normal person again. And it started in 2009. So it was a long, long journey.
That is a journey that I admire so much, that you want to help other people so they don't have to go through the suffering that you did, because on down the road, it's hard to say what all the repercussions could be of the eating disorder, like thinking that you want to look good now and
Mhm.
for the health demise as you get older. It's certainly not worth it, is it?
No, it's not. And an eating disorder really takes over your life. And I really, like I said, I really appreciate having my husband, urge me to go get professional help, because what that psychiatrist did was put me on Lexapro. And he said what Lexapro does is slow down the eating disorder thought patterns. So that it slowed down the thought patterns enough that I could win the battle against the eating disorder mindset. So I had been always fighting the eating disorder thoughts, but I couldn't win the battle. It was always taking over. It had too much control over my mind. So once he put me on the Lexapro and it slowed down those thought patterns, I could fight the thoughts and actually win. And I could actually say, no, I'm not fat today, and move on with my day. Or
Wow.
yes, I'm allowed to eat this and move on with my day. And I used to have anxiety over traveling and being in social settings with food because it would disrupt my, eating schedule and what I was going to eat. And I could finally be free to do that. And so I'm really thankful that I could finally, have that freedom from the eating disorder power. So I really encourage anyone
good for you.
who's struggling with it to work with a professional.
Absolutely, because some people never get better. It's like anything in life that's going to trigger them and set them off, they'll end up reaching for that control because of all the environmental and the other factors that you mentioned. What were the other factors that can cause this? Genetics,
biological factor, and then that environmental trigger that you never know what it's going to be.
Yeah, so good for you for like working through that and finding a way to get through the Lyme's disease and the eating disorder, and then taking your career into a way that you want to empower other people. So tell me a little bit more about some tips, maybe from your book, on how people can feel unstoppable and never give up the way you are so unstoppable and never gave up. I really admire that.
Yeah, so I wrote the book. It's called Though the Mountains Be Shaken. And the reason I named it Though the Mountains Be Shaken is because I felt like my world crumbled under me, like the mountains were shaken under my world. But though the mountains be shaken, you can persevere and come through on the other end. So the reason I wrote my story is because I wanted others to know that they weren't alone. And I wanted my honesty and my openness and my realness to allow others to persevere, overcome, and never give up. So I really hope that they can read my story and that it just gives them that strength to keep going in the midst of life challenges.
Well, I think it's so good that you were really connected to your why of why you wanted to get better, and you wanted to be there as a wife and as a mother and set an example, because children see what you do more so than what you tell them, right?
Yes, that's so true. So true.
So I think that's great, to advise our listeners to get connected to your why, never give up like Ariel never did. And any final thoughts you want to leave our audience with on tips and hacks on how to be unstoppable no matter what? Just get up and do stuff.
Yeah, I think it was really important to me to just get up and take the next step, because it's not like, those 10 years were easy. I mean, there were times that I was in despair and felt hopeless. It wasn't like I always had this hope and everything was, peachy. And I mean, the doctors didn't have answers for so long, and I was in so much pain. But I think taking that next step and going through the motions and seeking out the next thing, and just knowing that it's not going to be like this forever. If I feel like if I had given up, then I wouldn't be here where I am today.
I love it. So it's just not going to be forever. It's totally great advice. And just to keep taking one baby step and keep moving forward, get up every day, find your why, keep moving, and stay connected to that purpose. And where can people find you?
So I'm on Facebook, Ariel Selwyn, also on Instagram, ariel.selwyn. And then you can find my book on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. So again, it's called Though the Mountains Be Shaken.
Oh, thank you so much, Ariel. You're so wise in being unstoppable. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me at Whole CEO with Lisa G. This episode is brought to you by Boise Wine. Boise Wine is certified biodynamically farmed so that it's more organic, and it's one of my favorites, this bottle by Boise and John Legend Sparkling French Rosé. Join me in my wine society. Click on the website below to get a 20% discount when you become a member.